he's at Illinois State getting ready to transition to become a grad student there. So
yeah. Did she go to Eastern?
My daughter went to Eastern. I got my master's from Eastern, but my daughter did her undergrad at Eastern. Yeah.
My oldest son went to Eastern.
I went to Eastern.
Yeah.
I took a couple classes there.
I sent lots of money there.
Yeah.
It's a great campus.
I love it.
Well, folks, I did start recording, so just so you know. And so we're starting recording. We'll give people a couple more minutes to come in. We've got several that are still waiting in the waiting room. Typically, we get started right at 9:03, so that's kind of our go-to time. We did have some people that showed up early. We've noticed this about Zoom. Some people chime in at 20 minutes till, and some people wait until 3 minutes after. So always something. Always something. And folks, as you're joining us, we do have several co-hosts today. We have Bonnie Matthias, am I pronouncing it Matthias, from
Yes.
the Illinois Center from the Book in Springfield. We have Tammy Potts, she's with the Illinois Reading Council, and specifically Illinois Reads. And then we have Patty Toht, and Patty is the author of the book, Pick a Pumpkin. I do have it right here.
Exciting.
So we learned about pumpkins on Tuesday, so it'll be a nice follow-up with that. So got a couple more joining, and we'll wait just another minute and get going here. So that's what we've got.
Kevin and his tea.
Yep, I already finished one, so I'm on number 2. 2 more to go. So.
Is that your secret for being energetic?
You know, I
He
grew up on tea, so we grew up in a small town. We had bad water, so I drink unsweetened decaf iced tea. So it's kind of covering up bad water, I guess. So. Well, folks, it is 9:03, and I'm Kevin Daugherty here with the Illinois Agriculture in the Classroom program. And today we're really excited. We're taking a unique field trip for us today. Our field trip today is a little different, and some might say, well, what are you doing with agriculture here? And I'll put that question to Tammy Potts here in just a minute when I talk to her about first joining the Illinois Reads effort. But we're going to start off with the Illinois Center for the Books. And for the book, the Illinois Center for the Book is part of the Illinois State Library. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the Illinois Reads program. And those of you who've been joining us, you know, here at the Illinois Ag in the Classroom program, we really appreciate our Illinois authors. So we'll talk about that. And then next, we will actually talk with Patty Toht, author of Pick a Pumpkin, an Illinois Reads book. And we're really excited about some of those materials that go along with that. As usual, folks, use the chat.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Kevin,
You're muted.
Use the chat feature, and we will take your questions and comments as we go there. So we'll get started. Okay, I don't want to do that. I want to get rid of the participant feature. There we go. Forget my screen a little bit. But what we're going to get started with is first I'll have Bonnie introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the Center for the Book. Then I'll have Tammy introduce herself, and Patty can give us a brief update on her as well. Then we'll come back to Bonnie and her slideshow about the Illinois Center for the Book. So Bonnie, you're up first.
Okay. Hey guys, nice to meet everyone. Just to give you a brief introduction about the Illinois Center for the Book. A lot of people don't understand a lot about the Illinois Center for the Book. So just real quick, just to let you know, every state has a Center for the Book, and we're all affiliated with the Center for the Book out of the Library of Congress. And so the state center, we're all affiliates of that whole I want to say group there. And in fact, we just had a meeting yesterday. And each state participates in programs that are unique to their state, but it's all about the programs that are, we're each based out of different organizations that work for our states, but we're all affiliated with the Library of Congress. So in Illinois, we are based out of the Illinois State Library, and we put our efforts toward reading, writing, and authors. So that is what has put us in perfect partnership with the Illinois Reading Council. And we highlight reading programs, and we have reading programs that you guys might be interested in for your students, from Family Reading Night to participating in Illinois Reads. And so I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I just want to let you know that we're here. We're based out of this state library. And if you want additional information about our programs, that I'm here, and you're more than welcome to contact me, and we'll let you know, additional information from there, because I don't want to tie everything up.
No, and Bonnie, that was great. Real quick question. Your background, are you a librarian by trade? Are you, like that?
I am not. I was actually brought in to be a coordinator of programs. So the rest of the people that work here at the State Library are librarians. I am one that was just basically brought in to be the rah-rah person. So
very cool. Didn't know that, so I just wondered. And next up, we have Tammy Potts. And Tammy has not only been a friend to Ag in the Classroom, but a travel partner too. She's attended several national Ag in the Classroom events and Illinois Ag in the Classroom events. Welcome, Tammy, and tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks so much. Well, you'll see a lot of Illinois Reads information in the upcoming video, but I am so happy to be partnering with Ag in the Classroom. Kevin came to our exhibit a number of years ago at our conference, and as he was browsing, looking at the books that we had that year, he's pointed to them and said, "This has an ag connection. This has an ag connection. Just about any book you have right here has an ag connection. I think we should talk about partnering." And the rest is great history, because Kevin, as you all know, has so much energy and enthusiasm. He's really helped us grow the project across the state. So thanks for the invitation, and there's more to come, I guess.
Perfect. Yeah, and it is a great program. We're proud to be a partner with it. And then speaking of those authors that we're proud to partner with, Patty Toht. Patty, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And I know we'll get into this later, but just as a general introduction, a little background about where you're at right now, and what have you been doing during this pandemic?
I've been in my house. My name is Patty Toht. Actually, Patricia Toht is my author name, but everybody calls me Patty, so that's how we go. I was born and raised in the Chicagoland area, as were my parents, as were my children, so longtime Illinois people here. And I started writing when my youngest was born. I worked full-time until the youngest was born, and when he was born with 4 kids, I just couldn't handle the schedule of daycare anymore. So I stayed home and I started to write, and that was 25 years ago. Now I have 4 published books and 2 more that are in the hopper, and 1 more that, fingers crossed, is on submission. And I write out of this lovely office of mine, which is the spare bedroom. And I actually met both Kevin and Tammy a couple years ago when a friend of mine had an Illinois Reads book, and they did a little program at Anderson's bookstore in Downers Grove outside of Chicago. And I'm very happy and very proud that my book is a part of both Illinois Reads and Agriculture in the Classroom.
Well, great. Well, thank you all for joining us, and to our participants, thank you for hopping on. I think you're in for a real treat today to talk about the connection between agriculture and children's literature, especially as we go to the classroom. I'm going to start, and I'm going to share my screen and our field trip today. We've got a field trip, and we're going to take a trip via slideshow to the Center for the Book. And Bonnie's actually going to walk you through the State Library and the Center for the Book. So I'm going to share that screen and slideshow. I'm going to go from beginning, from the current slide. There we go. So Bonnie, if you want to walk us through your slides, I will advance them as you say so. So Bonnie, the floor is yours.
Okay. I don't know how many people have actually been to the state library, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea of where we're located, because a lot of people actually get the state library mixed up with Lincoln Library, which is the public library in Springfield, and the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library, which is also in Springfield. So we are the state library, which is across the street from the state capitol. So we're located at 300 South 2nd Street, across the street from the state capitol. So you can go to the next slide, Kevin.
Maybe I can. There we go.
And we are actually, a lot of people don't know this either, that we are a department of the Illinois Secretary of State's office. So we are under Jesse White's department of the Secretary of State's office. So we can go to the next slide. And our building is actually called, where we're located, is the Gwyndolin Brooks building. And in 2003, the building was named in, I shouldn't say named, we were rededicated in 2003 and named in honor of Gwyndolin Brooks. So the building we're at is actually known as the Gwyndolin Brooks building. So the reason why I wanted to tell you this is, if you have students and if you take a field trip to Springfield, which I know the pandemic has changed a lot of things, but if you do, once things come back to normal, if you do come to Springfield on a field trip with students, this is something with literature that you might want to, let your students know if you're teaching students about any type of literature. So Gwyndolin Brooks, and we have this in front of the building on 2nd Street. So we've got this placard there, so we can go to the next slide.
Yep.
So also on the building, this is another picture of the building here. We along the frieze, which you'll see, I've kind of tried to draw an arrow. It's along between the 4th and 5th floors. You'll see that there are names of authors, Illinois authors, that are engraved in the frieze. And so that is something else that you can point out to students. These are all Illinois authors. It was a huge process when they built the building. And so they are there. So you can go ahead and go on to the next slide, Kevin. And when you walk into the building now, since September 11th, even though there are 3 doors to enter into the building, you can only enter now on the Monroe Street side of the building. And so when you come in, you have to go through the security and all of that, just like you do at the airport. But once you walk into the building, you walk into this huge atrium, and it's very beautiful. And so you come in to the building, and I just wanted to kind of show you a picture of it, so that way you can have an idea of what it looks like. And we can go to the next slide then. And on the 1st floor, we actually have what's called the Illinois Authors Reading Room. And this room houses first collection works of Illinois authors. And it's people have fun going through, looking through to find like the Oz books. Right behind this globe here that you can kind of see in the lower right corner are a lot of the L. Frank Baum original works books. And so that's a great thing to kind of show students if you happen to come through for a tour. So that's a neat thing to show
Bonnie,
them.
tours are free?
Yes, free. It doesn't cost anything to come in. What you would want to do, though, is just contact the library. That way we can actually have someone take your class through to give them, the students, a tour that would be more geared toward them. So that way they would have a little bit more fun coming through.
Very cool.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And also throughout the library, when the library was founded, there's a permanent art collection at the library, and all the art is by Illinois Illinois artists. And it's placed in public places throughout the building. So, like if you had a checklist of things that you wanted the students to do when they go through the library, you could have them look for different pieces of art or something like that by different artists. So that would be something fun to do. but it's all really, it's all Illinois centric, from the prairies to the city and that, so it's really neat. And then I just kind of wanted to take you floor by floor to let you know a little bit more about the Illinois State Library. The Illinois State Library is considered a special library. So we're not, our stacks are closed in that we're not a public library. We are mainly here for the state legislature. So it's, we help, we have special collections, and that you're not going to walk into this library and see fiction. So that's what's it's different in that way. So it'll show students that there are different types of libraries. The Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library is a different library, is a special library as well. So out of our library, the Talking Book and Braille service is based out of the State Library, and they're based on the first floor. So we can show students that the whole Talking Book and Braille service and what the tapes look like and how they come in and go out. It is a free service that's offered to anyone that can't hold regular print works. And so, and a lot of people don't know this service exists, but it is something that is also offered through the Library of Congress. So it would be something great for the students to see as well. We can go to the next slide there. And on the second floor, that is also, we call it library operations, but it's where the circulation desk and the reference desk is. As you notice, when you walk in, normally when you walk into a public library, you're going to see a reference desk. You did not see that when you walked into the state library here. But our reference desk is on the second floor. So on the second floor with our reference desk in that, you're going to see, you can come in and you can request interlibrary loan. That's where you can find state census records. We have a huge military records collection. We've got a huge map collection. So you can get any type of map information and plat books. We have a lot of, before any type of building is done, a lot of engineers and that come in to use our map collections. A lot of people doing genealogy work come in to try and find family plats where the family farms were located back in the day and things like that. So we're special in that we offer these type of collections that you're not going to find at other libraries. So there are different types of programs that we can offer for students to look at special maps. We can pull out the big, large maps and, you know, we can show them Lincoln's neighborhood or, you know, different types of programming that we can have done based around that too. So we can go to the next slide. And then on the third floor is our library automation and technology. It's basically where our government documents and that are. And we have an Illinois Digital Archives, and not a lot of people know about this. And this is where a lot of libraries across Illinois have deposited their special collections. So you're going to, as a teacher, you can go into the Illinois Digital Archives and the students can find different types of images and that they can access. But as you'll see, there's different oral histories and, you know, there's postcard collections and all that. There's a wealth of information in the Illinois Digital Archive. So you'll want to take a look at that. And, you know, you might be able to, it might help you with some of the things that you do in your classroom in that. But libraries, a lot of times are left special collections from families and that because there's nobody to pass it on, or they want to make sure that they're going to be preserved. And so this is a place where they're housed. And basically these collections are given new life through a digital format. So it's a really, really neat experience that I wanted you to know about. And we also have a Veterans History Project through the third floor too. So. Okay, and then the fourth floor, it's where I live and work. It's called Library Development Group. And the main thing that we do here on this floor is we give grants to libraries across the state. When the Secretary of State receives funding, once the state legislature approves, once, what do I want to say, losing it.
Budget.
The budget. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Kevin. Once the
I'm
budget
always
is
worried about
approved,
budgets.
thank you. Once the state budget is approved, and we receive funding, we then know how much money that we have to give for grants to libraries, and so we are that group that then can give grants to the different libraries. So also the school per capita grants, and one of the big types of grants that we give are back to book grants. And we also have a diversity program. We have adult literacy. We've got the Center for the Book where I am, a Project Next Generation. This is something else I want to let you know about. It's a lot of times it's done through the public libraries, but it's something for you to know about for your students, because it allows students to work with computers and that at the public libraries, and grants are given to public libraries through this. So check in your areas to see if they have a Project Next Generation program at your public libraries, especially for at-risk kids. That we do give these grants every year, and it is a great opportunity for students that might need a little extra help. So anyway, there's that. And then I've just got a little bit more information here about the programs that I have with the Center for the Book. I have an Illinois Authors Directory. If you want to find more information about Illinois authors, I add to that every day and update it. We have Family Reading Night. We provide posters and bookmarks for that. We do a mailer about that. We do literary landmarks and letters about literature. We have an emerging writers program. And then of course we're partners with Illinois Reading Council and Illinois Reads. And we also participate in the Prairie State Award with Illinois Reading Council there. So, and then this is Greg McCormick. He's the director of the State Library. So, and then I've got the link to the state library there through the Secretary of State's office. But you are welcome to contact us at any time with questions. And I'm sorry I've taken so much time, but I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of the state library if you haven't been here, and to make sure that you knew what our building was and where we were.
And thank you very much, Bonnie. I really think that this is the kind of tour that we're trying to expose our folks to. They've been to cattle farms, they've been to cornfields. They're going to a library too, one that they're not familiar with. So really appreciate that. And interesting, our school does participate in the Veterans Collection. It is with the Veterans Collection. So my son did some work with that his sophomore year. So highly put a big plug in for that. And another thing that I thought was kind of funny, just as a point of reference, you know, since 9/11, my son was born 3 months after 9/11, and he'll be a sophomore, or he'll be a freshman at Illinois State this year. So our frame of reference, I think, is a reference point. Now kids are going to talk about the pandemic, you know, so that's our next milestone and where it's from. But folks, if you are going to get to go to Springfield, if you do go to the Lincoln sites, or you do take a visit to the Capitol, I have been to the State Library. It is definitely worth a tour. It is definitely worth stopping in. I think your students would learn about that. I do have Bonnie's slideshow on the blog site, so it's there, and all of her contact information is there. So let's see, Patty chimed in and said that there is a great book by Illinois author Suzanne Slade about Gwyndolin Brooks. So an Illinois author writing about Illinois authors at the children's level. So that's just a perfect thing.
Yes.
And one thing that Bonnie does in her other roles, especially working with Illinois authors, is sit in with Illinois Reads as they select the books each year. So that's my, see that transition there, Tammy? That was my transition. So Bonnie helps Tammy and her committee choose the Illinois Read books. So Tammy has prepared a video, and I just want to go right to the video and share that with you folks. So Tammy, you get to sit back and watch yourself again.
Lovely.
Yeah, she was very excited about that. But I do have Tammy who has prepared this, and actually on the YouTube video, it actually shows Illinois Reads. So sorry, I couldn't get your face when you were smiling. So we've got that. But if you'd sit back and give us just a couple minutes, Tammy is going to explain the Illinois Reads program for us here. So here we go.
This is take 72. Hi, everyone. I'm Tammy Potts from the Illinois Reading Council. I'm chair of the project Illinois Reads. And I'm delighted to have been invited by Kevin to talk about our project. He asked me to talk about a few things in particular, one being the history. In about 2011, 2012, I was hearing about Naperville Reads, Joliet Reads, Plainfield Reads. A number of our Illinois Reading Council members were participating in those community reads. And I took a proposal to the executive committee saying, we're a statewide organization with 36 councils. We can do this. Illinois Reads is something we can do and something we should do. So we launched Illinois Reads in 2013 at the Old State Capitol building in Springfield. It was a delightful event. In particular, we had adults, teachers and librarians, because it was in conjunction with our conference. After 2 years at the Old State Capitol, which was a lovely venue, we moved our conference date, and in doing so, we needed to move the launch. I was approached by a principal and a teacher librarian in Westmont, Illinois, asking if they couldn't have this event there. Oh my goodness, it was fabulous. It became such a great community event. At the table planning, we had the superintendent of schools, we had the owner of Jazzercise, we had the park district, we had the police and fire chiefs. It was amazing. And it turned out to be an amazing event because of all that community involvement. And what it taught us was, we need to do this around the state for different communities. So we've been in Western Illinois at Mount Sterling. We've been in Southern Illinois at DuQuoin. We've been in Wilmington. And this year, sadly, our book festival that was scheduled for March, you know that time frame, had to be canceled, like many things across the country. Well, the Starved Rock Reading Council near Oglesby did a lot of planning and preparation, and we're going to go back there in 2022. Mark your calendars. Well, we can't mark our calendars yet because we don't have a date, but you can mark your calendars for 2021 Illinois Reads Book Festival. That will be held at Springfield Southeast High School on March 13th. 2021. And we're looking forward to seeing a lot of the authors. And here's some inside information. Those 2020 authors will be our 2021 authors as well. They did not have the opportunity to be treated like rock stars this year at a book festival and at our conference. And we want them to have that experience, and we want our students, our community, to have that experience with these authors. They're terrific. So mark your calendars. Also, I would like to share with you some of our high interest information that you can find on our website. First of all, IllinoisReads.org is the place where you can find bookmarks that you can copy from the past 8 years. Those bookmarks, though, for this year are in the Illinois Reading Council office, and you can request them for your class. Just contact Kristen at IllinoisReadingCouncil.org, and she will ship them out to you free of charge. Take advantage of this and get a special treat for your classes. In addition, on that website, you will see a link to teacher guides. One of my very favorite projects has been working with Loyola University pre-service teachers. Pre-service teachers have created a number of lesson plans using state standards, some with STEM lessons, all interesting and exciting. And you can download those and use them with Illinois Reads books. We're so happy to have this partnership with these future teachers. It's a win-win for them and for us as well. So in addition to that particular website, we have a website designed especially for the book festival. So Illinois Reads Book Festival.org is a terrific place to find out information about the book festival. You'll see right now that there are a number of authors who have done short videos encouraging people to get to the book festival. Now that was the 2021, and we'll update it with 2021 information. But it's really fun. We have students who read the books and do book reviews on that particular website. So check that out. If you're not friends with Illinois Reads on Facebook, please do. And also like Illinois Reads Book Festival, because again, there you will get notified as to upcoming events, author information, all kinds of great things. So check out those places. By the way, on the IllinoisReads.org site, you can sign up to be an ambassador. We have over 1,000 ambassadors right now, and we'd love to have more. When the new bookmarks come out, our ambassadors get a set and a note regarding the authors for that year. So sign up to be an ambassador. It's free of charge. We love sending out bookmarks. Kevin asked me to talk about our relationship with Ag in the Classroom, and I can't say enough about the support, the encouragement, and all that Ag in the Classroom has given us. It's been terrific. Also have to send kudos to Bonnie Mathias at the State Library, who has been with us all along, including a grant that she wrote for Illinois Reads, and we were awarded $2,225 through the Library of Congress, and we're going to be able to use that to help us with our book festival in Springfield. So thank you to Bonnie. Jesse White, our state librarian, did you know that? He's our state librarian. He has been our honorary chair from the beginning. So we have had support from the state library from the beginning. In addition to Bonnie and Secretary and Librarian Jesse White, the state library has sent out bookmarks and posters to every single public and school library across the state. This has been a huge help to us to get the word out. So ask your school librarian, your public librarian, if they've seen those. Sometimes I think they get a lot of mail and it gets put to the side, but we'd love to see those posters up and about. Again, Thank you to Kevin and to Ag in the Classroom. It has been such a pleasure, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Tammy. And with that, a couple of things. The idea of Illinois Reads, you kind of talked about that, where it came from, but the 6 books in the 6 strands. Can you talk a little bit about where that idea came from and how you follow through with that?
So the initial conversations started with maybe having one book, and then thinking about a statewide project. The conversation then turned to, well, if our goal, our vision and mission is to get everyone in Illinois reading, then we need to start with birth. And so, so that's how the birth through adult idea came to be. To be honest, I'm not sure about why 6. They fit nicely on a bookmark. And a poster, but I'm not exactly sure. One of our early members, Jan Dundon, came up with the tagline, "A Reading State of Mind," and so we kind of went with that thinking. Now we started saying that of the 6 books in each of the 6 age bands, we wanted to have one book in Spanish. We've been able to do that once. Frindle by Andrew Clements is written in Spanish, but it's been very difficult to meet that goal. We also tried from the beginning to have one STEM book or one nonfiction book, and having Ag in the Classroom involved has helped us certainly with that idea. The 6, it's really interesting. I have to confess that I am not part of the choosing. I sit and listen while the experts talk about the books. Bonnie and Becky Anderson from Anderson's Bookshop, Kathleen from Anderson's Bookshop, and Leslie Forsman, one of our members who's a K-12 librarian. And they bring their expertise. And I have to tell you, according to Becky, Illinois is only 2nd to New York in terms of published and excellent authors. So as the years have gone by, I think Bonnie will attest to this, it gets more and more difficult
Yes.
to choose books. So, but the 6 books in each age band has seemed to work out well.
Well, and I like having Tammy not at the table, but in the room. She was in the room, and she will oftentimes text me, "Hey, do you know about this book? Did you know about this book?" So I like getting that inside information a little quicker and making sure of it. And I have to say, I was able to suggest a book that has a modest ag connection, but it's my favorite book right now. You don't have favorite books, like you don't have favorite children.
It has been for a couple years now.
It has since Arkansas, but you know, it hasn't been replaced yet. It's still my go-to book. But you don't have favorite books, you don't have favorite children, but I do have one that I'll share in just a little bit. But a close other child that I really want to tie into is Pick a Pumpkin. And we're so excited to have Patty Toht. And why didn't you correct me, Patty? My last name's Darty. I get called everything too. So
You know
now
what?
I know it's really Toht. So
I'm so used to it. I think my favorite was the dry cleaners call us the 2 hots. Just kind of
Well,
fun.
we'd like to welcome Patty to talk a little bit about Pick a Pumpkin. And you have some slides, and she's going to share it as well. You've got some stuff. I want to talk a little bit about Pick a Pumpkin and where it came from and your roles as an author.
I would love to do that. First of all, I wanted to show you that I already got my bookmarks.
Woo!
These ones have my books, and these are great. We do use them. I failed to mention that I am a middle school library associate at Redling Middle School in St. Charles. So we do get our bookmarks, and we put our poster up, and we are so grateful for this state, which is so supportive of authors and readers and literacy. And as Tammy said, Illinois is a great state for authors. It has a very large and active group of authors that try their best to bring great books to readers. So I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen, see if I do this right. I told Kevin I am so used to Google that I don't always do the Zoom thing correctly. Let's see what we got here.
Working on it.
Oh, come on. Let's see if we can get back to where we were. Well,
And as Patty's doing that, she actually has Pick a Pumpkin, and a previous book was also Pick a Pine Tree. So we've got a whole farmer's market out there for you, Patty. We can pick lots of things. So maybe you secure a squash or something like that too, you know.
well, boy, am I learning things. You know, I watched Chris, is it Chris Wyant?
Yes.
I watched Chris's presentation on Tuesday to the teachers, and I learned so much just from watching him. All right, I'm going to try this again. This is not wanting to pop in. If not, I will
There you
just talk.
There you go.
Okay, it's not popping up on my end. So we had this problem
Patty, I'd
before.
like to take credit for telling Kevin about Pick a Pumpkin.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We were sitting at the Waukegan Book Festival at the end of it and talking about the next year. And I knew that this was coming. And immediately he said, of course.
Oh, you are awesome. Thank you for doing that. And
Yeah,
I
we've
don't know
known Pick
why.
a Pine Tree and had done stuff with it. So we were excited about pumpkins coming
Yeah.
up. So.
Well, and I think that the first time I had talked to you, Kevin, we were talking about Pick a Pine Tree. So
Right.
it was such an honor to be chosen. So I really liked it. I can't actually see my screen being shared, but if I do this, is it forwarding it?
Nope.
All right.
Yeah. So.
Well, what do you want me to do, Kevin?
Best
You want me
laid
to?
plans. Why don't you just walk us through what you were going to share anyway?
Okay.
You can stop
So-
sharing, and that way we see your whole face instead
All
of
right,
a
so
gray
you got here.
screen. There you go.
Oh, I'm disappointed. I had all these little GIFs that were going to pop up. They were so fun.
Yeah.
Um,
If you share that with me, and if with your permission, we'll put it on the blog site so people can reference it later.
that sounds great.
Perfect.
So I've already introduced myself and told you a little bit about getting started writing. Kevin wanted me to talk about my books and about my writing process. So I actually, let me grab the stack down here because I was going to show you a postcard. That's not going to work. I do have 4 books out. The first one is All Aboard the London Bus, and this is a collection of poems about the city of London because my family lived there for 4 years. It was a great experience, and that was kind of my love letter to the city. The next one that came out was Pick a Pine Tree, which Kevin has mentioned also. And I sold Pick a Pine Tree and Pick a Pumpkin at the same time. The publisher chose to do Pine Tree first and then do Pumpkin second. The fun thing about both Pine Tree and Pumpkin is because my publisher is based out of, my main publisher, I have more than one, but the main one is based out of London, I get a lot of foreign editions. So it gets translated into different languages, which is so cool. And Pick a Pine Tree last year actually had a fun little, let me get to the right page, a fun little pop-up that they did in the UK. It's not here in the States yet, but I'm hoping it'll get here. My third book is Dress Like a Girl. And this was the fastest one for me. I wrote this one in March of 2018 and it came out in January of 2019, which is really fast, for a book. But I wrote this book to address gender stereotypes that kids solidify. They say, studies show that they solidify by the age of 7, the idea of what boys can do and what girls can do. And so I wanted to write something for the very young especially for girls. I am a girl. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was in second grade when the moon landing happened. And I was told that girls were not allowed to be astronauts, which was true at that point in time, which kids find outrageous now. But that's how it was. And so I'm trying to break those boundaries of girls and let them know they can be firefighters, they can be astronauts, in addition to being some of the traditional roles that you'd see women in. So that was a quick one to come out, but I think it came out at a good time. And then Pick a Pumpkin was the newest. This came out in July of 2019. And then I also have 2 books coming out in the future. In July of 2021 is Together with You. That pairs me again with that illustrator, Jarvis. And it's a celebration of a parent and a child through the 4 seasons. And then I have Taxi Go coming in April 2022. And that's kind of like red light, green light with a taxi going through a town. So a very urban book, that one.
Very cool. Now, Tammy and I have traveled, and she's actually been and done presentations with me at the national level talking about our connections with Illinois Reads. And there are aspiring authors everywhere. And people come up to me and say, Kevin, how do you get published? And Tammy, here is my plug. What am I going to say they need to do first? And I want to tie this back to Patty. What do they need to do?
They need to seek out SCBWI. Do not try to publish a book without their support and expertise. And Kevin pounds it home.
So SW, I always get them mixed up, but the Society for Children's Writers and Illustrators. Patty, you're a member of that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is?
I am a longtime member of SCBWI. So it stands for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators International. And I've been a part of it so long that it was just SCBW when we joined, because it was just the writers and they added the illustrators. It's an international group. There are thousands and thousands of writers in there. And it does have a membership fee to join, but it's the best choice I ever made about my writing career. If you're serious about writing, you need to join. And it's an organization that has workshops and conferences, but they also have smaller chapters. So Illinois has 2 chapters. They have a northern chapter and a central and southern chapter. And what those chapters will do is more local programming. They will help you find critique groups to work with. And so a critique group, when I write something, I know that I need to be edited. You know, I always say that you look at your book, you love it, you know, you love what you've written, but it's kind of like you put on an outfit and there might be something going on in the back that you don't realize is going on. And you need a good friend to take you aside and say, nah, that's not working. So that's what a critique group is. They're going to tell you, this is your story, but this part isn't working. You need to work on it a little bit more. And I actually have 3 critique groups, and all 3 have been formed around other people from SCBWI. They're friends, they're cheerleaders, but they're also people that help me move my writing along.
And I think that's the mark of a true professional. And like you said, you're in 3 different critique groups. You got to kind of have some thick skin too. I mean, you're invested in your book, but now it's, if you want to take it to the next step, I mean, you can go to Walmart now and get this self-published, and you can have a book in your hand by the end of the day tomorrow, or probably later today. But that's at Ag in the Classroom, we don't promote self-published books. We want to use trade books. We want to make sure that they're properly vetted. And when we do, Tammy knows there are some books out there that don't have an accurate ag portrayal. They're fine. They're fine books, but they don't portray agriculture accurately. I buy 1 copy, they go on my bad book pile. I don't talk about them very much, but
poor bad book pile.
Our goal is really to make sure that they portray agriculture accurately, but also that they're good books. So if it's been published, it's gone through that vetting process. So I got a question in there. How did you pick pumpkins and how did you pick pine trees? You told us the story of both London Bus and Dressed Like a Girl. Where about pumpkins and pine trees?
So actually, pumpkin was the first one I wrote. It's so funny that they came out in opposite order of what I had envisioned. I had taken my own kids to pick their pumpkins, which we have a couple great little places. The one that we usually go to is called Sunny Acres, which is in West Chicago, Illinois, and we make a big deal out of it. And I took my kids out there. I have 4 of them. And it was funny watching them pick pumpkins. My youngest, who's a tiny little thing, ended up with this gigantic pumpkin that he could barely pick up and carry. My second down daughter, she is very practical. So hers was something that was very symmetrical. It had a nice shape. She liked that it had a little scar on it because she wanted that to be the scar of the face. I have another daughter who's very artistic. So she liked it one that had a little funny thing on the top and it was a little crooked. And then my oldest guy was like, I've done a lot of pumpkins. I'm just going to do a small one. So we had all those varieties. And so that actually started working its way into a poem. And I'm a little different than some writers. Some writers, when they get an idea, they immediately set to it. I'm kind of like a pitcher of water that I just carry it in my brain for a while and I let it drip in a little bit. And then all of a sudden when it's ready, it just comes out. And so it came out as a poem, as an extended poem. And a good friend of mine, Esther Hershenhorn, who's an Illinois author who lives in Chicago, she had read that poem and she said, I see this as a book. And so I started working on it as a book and I took it to my critique partners and they helped me see, you kind of want to lay it out as a book so you can see how the pages turn and do you have enough information? Is it too long? There's so many things that go into writing a book. Another thing that I can tell you is you can turn to actual craft books to help you in your writing. So my favorite for picture books is called Writing Picture Books, I think is the title. Ann Whitford Paul is the author. And to me, that is the Bible of writing picture books. So if you're interested in doing that, I'd suggest that. And then for poetry, you also need to study poetry. It's something that you would think would come along naturally, but your brain sometimes can play tricks with poetry, where it tells you the two things rhyme when they don't always. They're maybe close, but not always. And you can lay a rhythm on something with your brain that isn't how most people read a sentence. And so you need to study poetry a little bit to know about that. I actually started with a book called Poem Making by Myra Cohn Livingston, which is written kind of for an in-between of teachers and students, but it's been a great one. And so, study your craft as you go along. But I took that poem and turned it into a book. And Kevin, you were talking about editing. So after I found this as I was cleaning the office, because you didn't want to see it unclean. I was cleaning the office the other day and I found a file from Pick a Pumpkin and it had my original editorial letter. So this is after my first 6 drafts, after the critique partners helped me and I did another 4 drafts and they accepted it. This is my editorial letter. So I have a 1.5 pages of email. Then they broke my book into how they saw the pages. I saw them slightly differently, so they had broken them. These are all my notes on as well of things that I need to do. They crossed out some things they didn't want. And then 2 more pages of what they saw the illustrations to be. And with that, I had to go back and I had to rewrite again. And probably the biggest challenge for Pumpkin for me was that they wanted me to add 3 additional outdoor scenes. So they wanted to not just see the pumpkin, they wanted to see the farm. So I had to add a farm scene. They wanted to also have a little bit in there about getting into your costumes and wanted to go trick-or-treating and something about decorations. So all of those scenes had to be added to the book. So I had to go back to the drawing board again, work on that, send it out to the critique group again, send it back to the editor again. So Pumpkin probably had, I would say, at least 20 drafts before we finally ended up with the final book.
It's interesting. Peggy Thomas, a friend of Illinois Ag in the Classroom. She's the author of Farmer George Plants a Nation, but she did a presentation for us and has done several presentations. It's a 32-page book, and she saved every copy, every edition, and has taped them all together, and it goes on for almost a half mile. So she will bring this all rolled up and then send her husband, just keep pulling it. And just keep pulling it. How many times you have to do this? I do have a really quick question. Your book is illustrated by Jarvis, and yes. Jarvis is an illustrator from England. have you met? Do you know each other? Do you just communicate via email? A lot of illustrators and authors don't meet. It's the publisher, it's the editor who gets to decide. Why don't you talk about the role with your illustrator?
That is the big surprise for most people, is you don't get to choose your illustrator. So there's an art director in the publishing house.
You don't. You know, J.K. Rowling gets to pick. You know, not everybody does, though. Yeah.
She didn't with her first illustrator.
That's right.
So, you know, then as she got more power, yes. And there are some people out there that can command a certain illustrator, but I'm not one of them. So when you send it in, the editor is the person that I work with for the words, but there's an art director who's the person who deals with the images. And they have I don't know if it's a file cabinet or how they organize all the artists that they hear from, but they have postcards and samples and stuff like that of different people's artwork. And they have a vision of how they want that book to look, and they find the artist that goes with it. So they paired me with Jarvis. Jarvis lives in Manchester, England. And the funny thing is, the books were bought in 2022. We moved back in 2023, but the illustrator—
2013.
2013, sorry, 2013. I'm looking at my 2022 calendar up here because that's the Taxi Go calendar.
Okay.
So in 2013, we moved back, and that was before Jarvis had been assigned. So we've never met. We have not even spoken in person. We communicate once in a while, but really they like to keep the illustrator and the author separate because they want the illustrator to have their own vision of what the book is going to look like. I have a tiny bit of input on, once he sends his sketches, at some point in time, I'll get sketches from Jarvis that shows what he's thinking of. I have a tiny bit of input about, well, I thought we were gonna put this in, or can we add this? I wanted to make sure I had diversity in these books, so that was something that I requested. I have a very diverse family. And so we've got a little bit of communication, but not very much. And so the first time I see the full illustrations is when I get the folded and gathered copy, which is like a paperback version of what the final book will look like. And Jarvis every time has worked magic. It's an awesome book.
And it is an awesome book. And one of the challenges is for us, holidays are so different around the world. So being able to capture Halloween, you know, Halloween's the second biggest holiday in the United States, and the Super Bowl is the third biggest, you know, so our holidays are different than other worldwide holidays. So nice job with that. So
yeah, and I have a little story about that, Kevin, that the current book that's out on submission, fingers crossed again, is an Easter version of a pick-a-book. But oh my gosh, the differences between the US and the UK with their Easter eggs, like how they dye them, their Easter egg hunts. I said to my agent, well, what about those plastic eggs? She goes, what plastic eggs? What?
That's a staple here in the United States.
Yeah, she said, we
Plastic
hide
eggs.
chocolate eggs. And I thought, okay. So I do have to try to walk that line between, with Jarvis. One of the really sweet things is every once in a while, he will surprise me with his illustrations. And this page right here, he put in Jarvis's art supplies and Patty's bookshop.
I didn't realize that.
Oh.
I'll
I
have to
know,
point
isn't
that
that
out.
fun?
That's cool.
That's neat.
Really cool.
He's a sweet guy.
Well, folks, we are coming up to close. We try and keep these to an hour. We could go for an hour and a half or 2 hours. I do want to point out a couple of other books. And For Your Reading Pleasure, an Illinois Reads book. And this is, I keep a list, and this is right now at my favorite book is Sorry for Your Loss by Jessie Ann Foley. You wouldn't think this has an ag connection, but we're actually going to talk about this next week during the Cultures of Agriculture, and the student integrating in with this literally African-American culture in the city of Chicago. Love this book. I would love to say that you could take it to the beach and put it down and pick it back up, but you won't. You will pick this up and read it from cover to cover as quick as you can. I picked it up, read it on an airplane between Bloomington to Chicago, Chicago to Little Rock, Arkansas, and called Tammy when I finished it and said, I'm at the airport. I've missed a shuttle twice because I had to finish this book. Love Sorry for Your Loss by Jessie Ann Foley. Another book that's on the Illinois list is The Superlative A. Lincoln by Eileen Meyer, and love the back matter in this book. So great poems about President Lincoln filled with little back matter. There is a great picture, there is a great poem in here about the reluctant farmer, Abe Lincoln, the reluctant farmer, talking about how he didn't like that. With Peggy Thomas's, not an Illinois author, but Peggy Thomas's upcoming Lincoln book about Lincoln and his wanting to command his own labor. He was about free labor because his father had hired him out. So that, and I'll put a plug in for another Illinois author. We're going to talk a little bit about this, Honeybee by Candace Meyer. This is a great book, folks. We're going to talk about it. Some other books on the blog site I do have listed, and you know, how can we make agriculture involved in all of them? And Tammy, you actually brought up Andrew Clements' Frindle. A couple of years ago, we did a Frindle activity, and I'll send one to Tammy and to Patty as well. We had a naming contest. We have these really cool pins that they're in the shape of a fork, and we had a naming contest for students, and they based it off of Frindle. What would they name this pin? And they called it a Paforkin. So it's a fork inside a pen, so Paforkin. So we can make agriculture linked to just about anything. And folks, one of those books is it is the title of all things, and it is an Illinois author book, Kim Bruner. It's a book for 2020, and you need to have this just in your collection. It's called Flip the Bird, just because it has the best title. But I love Flip the Bird. It is one you can pick up and put down, young adult literature. But it's the Romeo and Juliet of animal agriculture. So two worlds collide. Somebody that's involved in an animal industry and somebody who opposes animal industry and those rights. Bonnie, you might be interested to know, we actually had a county that did over in Western Illinois that was facing a hog confinement operation, and people were protesting it. They actually did a book study group, had about 40 people read the book, talk about it. It's really about falconry, but they brought in the Department of Natural Resources, but then they said, you're hearing all this stuff about people that are opposed to this. Have you ever visited a hog farm? They went and visited the hog farm. Then they brought the author, Kim Bruner, out to talk about her book and the process that it went through. So just love the activity that goes along with
Very
that.
cool.
So kind of a neat thing. On the blog site, I've got some of the highlights of others as well. We've talked a lot about Henry Ford. We did this stuff a couple weeks ago, and Henry Ford grows a car, the soybean book by Peggy Thomas. One of a great book, The Inventor's Secret by Suzanne Slade, about Henry Ford and Thomas Edison and their connection. Suzanne Slade, another Illinois Reads book. Earlier, when Natalie Pratt was giving her presentation about popcorn, we talked about The Popcorn Astronauts by, I can picture her and I can't
Deborah Rudell.
That's it, Deborah Rudell, by Deborah Rudell. So folks, there are a ton of those books that are out there. One thing I'm gonna give you an inside scoop here. One thing that we're looking at doing is promoting a book for the fall and then bringing on a Zoom author. And Patty has agreed to be our Zoom author to do an author visit with your classroom in October with Pick a Pumpkin. We're also going to take a virtual field trip in October to a pumpkin patch. So we'll have that for your students as well. So you need to go out there right now and go to your local bookstore. Let's put a plug in for those local bookstores. Go to your local bookstore and get Pick a Pumpkin by Patty Toht. Ladies, thank you so much. You make our job a ton easier in doing this, but folks, I really, really thank you all for sharing with this. I think that we're really going to continue to promote this and promote the Illinois Reads and our Illinois authors. There's a lot to be proud of here. To our teachers, we really appreciate this, and make sure you check out the blog site for all other Illinois Reads books that do have an ag connection. Again, Bonnie, Patty, and Tammy, thank you so much for your friendship and for your help.
Thank
really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Yes.
Kevin.
Thank you,
All right,
Kevin.
folks, thank you so much. Don't forget to fill out the evaluation. And there are a couple of copies of Pick a Pumpkin ready to come to somebody right now, so you'll have it for the fall. All
Ooh,
right.
how exciting.
Thanks so much,
Cool.
folks.
Stay safe, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Hey, folks, we could have talked for a couple hours. So This was great. Thank you so much. Everything worked out perfect except for your slideshow, Patty, but you covered it. You did it just like that. If you
I'm
send
very
that
chatty.
to us, we'll give you the link, and we already have your website up, and we've got all the other websites up, so we're good. I didn't get a chance. One of the things I was going to ask you to talk about was your GROG group blog, and I was fascinated by that when I was reading about your stuff. So tell me a little bit about that as people are still signing off. But.
Yeah, GROG stands for Group Blog, and it was a group of about a dozen authors that got together, and we wanted to write about books, but we had such a diverse interest of what we liked. So we just decided, well, we're just going to pick our interest and we're going to write about what we like on that blog. And so on the GROG, I'm the person that kind of focuses on picture books. It's different techniques in picture books, and sometimes we do interviews with unusual people in the books that they have out. It's very, very diverse, but I think that's one of the things that makes it really special.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we like Pick a Pumpkin. We love Pick a Pine Tree, and I'm sure that we look forward to more information. So,
It
and
was
Bonnie,
so much
thank you so
fun.
much for pulling this all together. That was great. Your slideshow was wonderful. I think we should, when we do get back to field trips, that it's a great field trip right across from the Capitol. So worth the hour. So yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
with that,
Thank you.
Kevin.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
everybody,
much.
for
We'll
coming
talk to you
by.
soon.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
All right,
Yes.
take care.
everybody.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.